Thank you very much, sir, for your time. We're speaking about teenage pregnancy. And what do you think are some of the reasons that teenagers are getting pregnant and keeping the baby, whereas there are options of abortion and adoption?
Look, I think that the stats show an improvement in that. We're down from 2,800 young women pregnant during the year before last to 2,400 in last year. So there's an improvement, but it is still too high. It might be that some people choose to become pregnant quite young, but I think just as often those pregnancies are unplanned. The problem with unplanned pregnancies is that you are rarely going to have the resources and means to give the child all the opportunities and breaks he or she needs. In most of the cases, the families become involved and end up raising the child collectively. Sometimes there are parents or grandparents who become responsible for raising the child. But I think in terms of emotional maturity and where they're at in life, young men and women in school or straight after school do not have the ability to raise a child effectively. They don't have the emotional maturity, nor do they have the time, in that they're supposed to be engaged in cementing their own future, without which it is going to be hard to supply resources for a kid. So the city does what it can to reduce teenage pregnancy, and we've got a series of programs that impact on that. There is a lot of hormones and public messaging and the influence of alcohol and other such things that work against that message. A lot of things that happen at taverns, shebeens, nightclubs, parties, in relationships, a lot of messaging around movies, the extent to which sex appears prominently in every aspect of our life. You're made to think that if you're not sexually active, you're not cool or you're not relevant. And it is a pity that some of these societal and sometimes cultural factors make it so difficult for young people to escape that trap. Because I think especially for young women, it is a debilitating consequence. They are the ones who have to then spend the next 20 years of their life raising the kid, instead of being able to get enough of a foot in the door in the career market or otherwise to look after themselves. When they get older, they're too old to meaningfully start a career again. Not always, but mostly. And that usually doesn't apply to the man. The man is able to go about his business, he lives his life. And again, that's not true of all men, but it's true of most men. So they are going to sit with a situation where the woman will give up a lot of her personal economic and financial security in favor or in order to look after the child. And in terms of keeping the child, I think that's a cultural issue. There are religious and cultural values that dictate how people will behave under those circumstances that are not always the same thing as what the woman might otherwise choose as her best interest. And the city gives people the options to make those decisions for themselves. So we can't compel a person to side one way or another, nor should we want to. But what we can do is give them the information and the opportunities to make those choices. So we do quite a number of things to make young people alert around the issue of pregnancy, teenage pregnancy, antenatal care, and the options they have. So we do health promotions in schools. There are constant talks given to young people in schools. Metro Police does talks around teenage pregnancy and peer pressure and drugs. And the health department does talks about personal health and women's reproductive health, which for women is something that they need to be very cognizant of. Family planning methods are something that we spend a lot of time talking to young people about. If you go to many of the clinics in the city, after schools close in the day, you will find that the older people who come in the morning to the clinic, their numbers start dwindling. They start leaving. They've seen the nurse or the doctor, and they go about, they leave again. And a large number of younger people come in around that time, mostly women, to seek advice and help on basic antenatal care where they're pregnant, We do encourage women to register for the basic antenatal care when they're 14 weeks pregnant, to talk to us about female reproductive health and about contraception. So in that way, we also distribute quite a lot of condoms, male and female, about 50 million a year in terms of condom distribution. We have youth day events and talks at events and schools where we talk to young people about these options, and where we market the messages of having choice and respecting each other, and mapping out for young women the implications of the decisions they're taking, and the fact that they have options. We counsel pregnant teens regarding the choices available to them in terms of termination of pregnancy, and some of the clinics in conjunction with other facilities offer that termination of pregnancy option. And that is something, again, which if you're going to take, you need to take fully cognizant of what it means and the implications are. It's not something to do lightly. And it is something that may also have an emotional and psychological impact on you for a long time. You need to be very sure that you understand what you're doing. And that counseling we were able to assist with. There are partnerships with a lot of NGOs like Love Life and others who amplify the city's message. Maybe we are too cheesy or too staid or stuffy in our communication, so we rely on NGOs to go to undertake communication and messaging and awareness exercises that maybe has a bit more penetration, that has a bit more relevance and traction with young people and the target market. Some schools allow us to do on-site clinics after school, which we take advantage of as best possible. There are also family planning clinics at library halls and other stuff that we do off-site on a rotating basis, so where we invite young people to come and talk about family planning and help them understand the issues. There are holiday programs and other stuff, and even if you go on a recreation and parks camp, as I was on during the last holidays, the young people there will at some point during the camp, even if it's about something completely different, somebody is going to talk to them about family planning and responsibility, and especially to the young men, to help them understand that if they father a child, they have a massive responsibility, and it's a responsibility they cannot and should not walk away from.
Okay, so you've touched on everything that I wanted to ask.
Well, there's maybe one more aspect around teen moms.
Yes.
So let's assume now that you have become pregnant and you're determined to keep the baby, and you feel that you're capable of raising the child. Then the city has a basic antenatal care program that we will help with. And that is registering them for this campaign, helping the child make sure that that child is healthy. We have a 1,000-day campaign where we say basically much of the future of that child is determined within the first 1,000 days. If you neglect the health and development of the child in the first 1,000 days, starting with the inception of that child, with the moment that the child is conceived, then the child will have a permanent disadvantage in life. You're going to make it difficult for that child to catch up to other children his or her age permanently. There will always be a step behind. And so we help with micronutrients and vitamins to start making sure that that child doesn't have any growth issues, starting with early processes to advise the mother, check for problems that may occur. Later on, this also becomes support around HIV or TB or STI screening that may impact on the health of the mother or the child, breastfeeding counseling, the postnatal care, and then also the referral of high-risk pregnancies to the hospitals and other specialists, so that we make sure that that child, when he or she is born, does not have any unnecessary health defects that they suffer with, of which could have been avoided if the mother had gotten the right care. And here often the issue of shame or societal pressure comes in. Many young women will be ashamed or embarrassed to admit that they're pregnant and will therefore not seek help. And what our clinics try and do is take the sting out of that, deal with her pregnancy and help her with the best possible options, so that the child has all the opportunities available to them.